Future Exit, welcome to the Underground Society podcast.
Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward for this.
Yeah, I saw a post on Twitter that you said you weren't cleared to work out for like 3 months per doctor's order. What's going on?
Yeah, man. So I've had this surgery, 31st of August to be exact. It's a condition called the Pilonidal Cyst, which is basically just an ingrown hair just wanting to come out through the skin, and it cannot, so it creates an air bubble. But I had to get that removed. At some point, I couldn't sit down to make music.
Dry scooping pre-workout, it's kind of your pre-show ritual.
Why not? It makes me feel good.
I feel like my heart would fucking explode.
It's whole world way apart.
Interesting.
A big obstacle for me was comparing myself to others. I learned in life.
I am very guilty.
Everyone has a different path to success, if I can say it this way. What I've tried to keep myself motivated is everything I learned. And unfortunately, yeah. But anyways, back to the point. If you base yourself on the success of others to build yours, it's not going to go the same way because you're missing a lot of steps to get to that same path. Just focus on yourself.
Future Exit, welcome to the Underground Society podcast, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward for this.
So first, I saw a post while I was doing my research, and I just wanted to check in before we get talking about your artist project. Yeah, I saw a post on Twitter that you said you weren't cleared to work out for like 3 months per doctor's order. What's going on?
Yeah, man. So I've had this surgery for the past in the 31st of August to be exact. It's a condition called the Pilonidal Cyst, which is basically just an ingrown hair just wanting to come out through the skin, and it cannot, so it creates an air bubble. So I had to get that removed. Unfortunately, it limits me to do a lot of stuff, so I couldn't. Obviously, I can't work because I have another job outside of music, so I can't work. I can't work out honestly because they leave the wound open.
Oh, so, yeah, you can't, yeah.
So they don't want the wound to open back up if I do like a little bit, a movement of too much or anything. So I'm kind of stuck in my house for a little bit more time than expected.
Yeah, I know. I've even seen another post that you were dry scooping pre-workout. It's kind of your pre-show ritual. What got you into like fitness and, the workout kind of world?
Honestly, the only reason is it makes me feel good. It's
endorphins, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like you come out of there at the moment and you're like, damn, I feel good, because whenever I go at the gym, I just want to surpass myself every time and just go beyond my limits. And that's what I'm trying to do every time I step in. And then when I go out, I just feel better. And to repeat that like same process throughout every day is just what made me happy. I'm not saying I'm not right now because I can't go, but I mean, most of my happiness and
adds to your balance, adds to your mental health, adds to when you can't go to the gym.
It's a big factor for my mental health. Yeah,
I feel so much different mentally. That's honestly, I used to compete in bodybuilding. A lot of listeners of the show knows this, but I used to compete in bodybuilding and coach bodybuilding. So the workout world and athlete world was like my whole life for a few years there before I got into music. Like back then my goal was like getting on stage and stuff, but now I work out just A, to be healthy, and 2, like I definitely feel different mentally when I don't have the gym.
You know the feeling when you're like, you can't go, it's just different, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Back to our question of you dry scooping pre-workout. When did that start, and why do you do that? And do you feel any benefits from it by doing so?
Surprisingly, yes. Yes. It started, it was my biggest show that I was opening for Murata at MTLIS in Montreal, which is 1,500 capacity people venue. It was my big bucket list venue for a while, and I was definitely feeling nervous with reasons. So like 15 minutes before,
a lot of people.
It was packed. Also, like 5 minutes in, it started packing up like way more quickly than I thought. But 15 minutes before the set, my manager and I, with my videographer, were downstairs. And I had my pre-workout in my bag because it was my gym bag, honestly, but I just unloaded my gym clothing, but I loaded my headphones and everything. But the pre-workout was still there. So I was like, yeah, just why not?
Why not?
And honestly, there's like a few people that came after my set. And I was like, are you okay, dude? You seemed a little bit more agitated than the last time you were playing. So it did honestly a lot of effects, but it's just for the better, in my opinion.
And you continue to do so every time you play. You take pre-workout now.
Yeah, I did it.
That's cool.
I did it in Toronto as well.
Dude, I feel like my heart would fucking explode pre-workout, and then also like just the adrenaline dump of being on stage. Like I don't know if I can handle the combination of that.
Here's the thing, though. It was not a full scoop, because a full scoop would have been different. I think it was just about halfway through the scoop. I wouldn't have done a full scoop as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if it has beta alanine in it, like get tingly and stuff on stage. Like, nah.
Oh yeah, and I had the worst one. It was like one of the pre-workouts I bought because all sorts of pre-workout have different amount of beta alanine, and like that one has the worst amount.
A lot,
like,
yeah.
My body was scratching myself like so much.
Man, you got to get a supplement sponsorship if it's actually helping you on your day to day and your performance, man.
Oh, my goal is 100% for Rise at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good company. Yeah, them and previously when I first got into like the workout world, it was Optimum Nutrition. I think All Max were like they're still great companies.
I have not heard from them.
Yeah, now it's Rise, Ghost. They're like Ghost is like leader now, but it's crazy how much the fitness world has changed in the last like 5-6 years.
Oh yeah,
so crazy. So man, take me back to. I want to talk about your artist project. Take me back to like when you first got into music. What kind of first made you fall in love with the artist journey?
My career goes back in like 2015 or 2014. I got for Christmas a MIDI controller called the Launchpad, which is basically just you're familiar with it. It's basically just like a square with like buttons, and then you can like sample songs and assign each sample to each button and make light shows. It's really cool. And I started doing covers of songs I would download, buy, and then just chop it up and doing covers of these songs, put it on YouTube, which actually like surprisingly did really good. I had like a big fan base just from this scene. But I had like a sort of plateau where I wanted more. So I was already using Ableton because it was the software the Launchpad was using. So I decided to start like using drum patterns and everything and started just diving into music production way more seriously. And it was obviously because anyone starting music production knows it's complicated at first. When you first open the DAW, it's like a caveman trying to set fire.
What the fuck do I do?
Exactly, yeah. So it took me a little bit more time, but I got more used to it and everything. And I think like 2-3 years later, I asked for a DJ controller. And I got like a little Newmark controller, which has like 2 channels, just to get me used to mixing it.
What do you think caused you to start with the production side and not the DJing side first? Because a lot of people, like when they're new, I've seen, especially more so now, a lot of people know how to DJ, but not a lot of people take that extra step to become the producer.
I know, yeah. I encountered these types of decisions like a lot of people starting to mix before. Honestly, there's not a specific reason. I just happened to have the DAW right in front of me before because I was already kind of getting used to Ableton in the first place. So I already had the DAW. I was kind of I can say the basics at some point, but I wanted to learn more. So I already had the DAW in front of me and I just said, yeah, you know what, I'll dive into it and I'll learn DJing way more after. So
are you primarily self-taught, or where did you get a lot of did you take lessons along the way? Did you get anything like mentorship or anything like that?
I'm most primarily, self-taught.
Okay.
Most of my time I used to watch tutorials.
Dude. Your music is sick too.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
That's super impressive.
Thank you. And yeah, a lot of YouTube helped me, and a lot of friends. I have a nice social group of friends here in Montreal. Honestly, it's like one of the things I'm the most grateful about is that Montreal has a big dubstep and rhythm scene. And
yeah.
So
it's like Denver and Montreal, like the 2 like primary places for bass music.
Yeah, they're the 2 big places for sure. Yeah, and I got lucky to have like a lot of my friends I have now are friends I made throughout the scene, and they helped me throughout the music progress as well. But that had to do it for sure.
Being that you're a local from there, do you think it had like a large influence of why you chose to go that direction in life? Like, was it just like everyone's doing this, I want to try it, or was it kind of like a self journey that you were just like it just kind of fell into place? I think
it's pretty much a mix of both. Like there was a lot of open doors in Montreal where I could just go and play events at some point and help me like grow my career at some point. Because you come here in Montreal, there's like events regularly each week, which gives local DJs like a lot of open doors.
Great opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. The one I can think of is when I started was a small intimate venue called La Belmont, which is like really small, but it's where I started. I played like 3-4 shows, which helped me get my name out there.
Yeah.
And let me.
And once promoters see you on other lineups and stuff too, they're like, okay, he's played a show before. Like we can take a chance on him or something. You're not like brand new. So
100%. And at that time, the first show I played was in 2018 or 2019. And it's kind of nice you look back at it now, because I think a year ago I headlined that same venue for the same promoter. They threw me a headline show there. It was really nice as well. So it's nice to look back at it.
Yeah, come back and play. I know, like there's just so many artists that have like, they're like, once they leave the local scene and like actually become big touring artists, it's like such a big deal to play like a hometown show.
Oh, 100%.
It's wild how hard, like you're even like a good example on a massive scale, like Drake just writing how hard he writes for his city of Toronto. Like,
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It definitely happens with a lot of people in the EDM world too. It's cool. From this time of starting your artist project and everything, since then you've released on a few massive labels, Welcome, Cannibal, and Bygore. What would you say out of those three were like your favorite to work with? And no one, like, don't put anyone on blast, not saying that all your favorite's not, the rest of them either. I'm sure they're all great to work with, but was there any like stories in specific of like why one's maybe stuck out to you?
The thing is, I would choose all of them.
Yeah.
Because they're all really great.
They're all wonderful, yeah.
And I'm not being biased when I'm saying this, but Cannibal has to be the top so far. I'm saying biased because, in case you didn't know, they're from Montreal. It's a Montreal label.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
So it's a label. It's Black Tiger Sex Machines label. Yeah. So, but yeah, I've released twice with them, and the first one was Dead Walk with Stone Level, which has to be like my biggest track up to date.
One was a wizard, man. I love his music.
Oh, this guy's crazy. And the second time was just this summer on their compilation, but each time it's just gone so smoothly, and there's nothing I can say bad. It's always on point.
What I like about their label too is like not that it's a bad thing, because it's put a lot of people on and jumpstarted a lot of people's career with Subsidia, but I feel like they do so much like comp stuff and like put on so many artists where it's like almost like their label is oversaturated to a certain degree, where like Cannibal and like Rude Service and some of the other labels or the labels that you've even released on with Bygore and Welcome and stuff, they're a little bit more selective about who they choose to work with. So getting an opportunity, I think, with a label like that is also like, it might mean more to the artist, because they're like, that you're really selected for that, to release on the label instead of just like, yeah.
It's not a bad thing as well when they select what they release, because at some point I understand they want to release like some quality content.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
You brought up that you started working on your own visuals. You do all the visuals for your project? Is that all your work?
Mostly, yeah. I started messing around with Blender and After Effects. Well, After Effects is really new, but mostly Blender is what I use for my visuals. I started messing with that I think 3 or 4 months ago, and it's like way more tricky than producing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you do it out of primarily like necessity? Was it just like a cost thing, or did you just like fool around with it one day and you're like, this is fun, I could do this?
Well, not gonna lie, the cost of visual these days was one of the big factors, because as you can tell, it's really expensive, and
yes,
yeah. So I said, just why not? And as I just said like 3 seconds ago, it's a really hard thing to learn. 3D modeling is just another world, and I'm still learning. Like, my stuff is really beginner, like intermediate stuff. I'm really glad of how it's aiming though, but it's really hard stuff to learn. But I'm saying this to a lot of my friends that really have the motivation to start doing their visuals, but you should like take the time to do it, because in my opinion, you have way more control over your creative branding and your process and everything, how you want to approach things. And
that's what I was going to say. What do you like most about like having that much creative control over your project?
There's a lot of stuff. I think like having the control of what like solids I want to use as the visual, what's colors. Colors is a big factor for my branding. As you may have seen, like purple and whites and blues are big like plus in my branding. So I tend to use those a lot. So there's a lot of stuff that come in factor where you can control all of those things, It's way more easier for you to control.
Yeah, for sure. What was like the journey of like learning how to do that? Did you take like any online courses, or did you same thing, kind of YouTube stuff, or?
A lot of YouTube stuff, but I remember I started learning it when I was in a vacation from work. So I had a lot of time to put into it, because that's what I've been saying is if you want to learn 3D modeling, in my opinion, you need to have the time to like really get to knowing. I think I spent like a week without producing music, but just learning about 3D modeling.
That was my next question. How do you balance everything? Because that's like a whole, like having one creative endeavor is hard enough, but having like two, especially if they kind of cohabitate together in like the same project, it's like, how do you have the time to like, how do you divide that up?
Yeah, honestly, I don't have a specific answer, but it was kind of a good timing on my end, because I had done like 3 songs the past week, so I was like kind of getting loaded on music, honestly. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a break for now. I'm just learn 3D modeling, and I just learned the basics, and just went really smooth from there.
Yeah,
honestly.
That's dope.
Yeah.
What would you, I guess, advise people if, even if they're not an artist and, they just maybe have an interest in maybe doing that aspect of going, creating a career just as a graphic designer or a visual person, what advice would you give them to like start?
Well, it's pretty much the same thing I would say as someone is trying to make music. It's do not give up whether it's hard or not, because you can't just think you're going to start something new and you're going to be a pro at it. It's going to take time until you develop something quite good, if I can say it this way. But what I've tried to keep myself motivated is everything I learn. Well, every time I try to learn something new, I go on YouTube and I learn like a basic, like, let's say, for example, a scene with mountains and grass and different textures, because there's a lot of things to take into consideration at that point. So definitely separate your learning tasks, if I can say it in this way. Every day you learn something new and you make an agenda or something, just how you would do it for music in the same way, honestly.
Do you run your life on a calendar?
No.
Do you like actually? No.
Dude, I'm the most unorganized person you can ever meet. Yeah.
That's crazy that you can get that much done and not be on a calendar, man. I run everything. My whole life is, if I didn't have my calendar, my life would be in shambles.
Really, that much?
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, the big thing
like
is
to
that
the hour almost, like, unless I'm out of town or on vacation or something, then whatever.
Yeah,
but if I'm home and I'm in work mode, yeah, dude, I have to have a
especially
calendar.
with the big ADHD I have, it's quite surprising
dude,
how I'm able to pull this off. So
crazy, freaking legend, young legend in the making.
Oh yeah.
Did you have any prior skills in like normal graphic design or anything else that you think maybe aided in the learning of creating your own visuals?
I did, yeah. So in high school, I had in high school, I don't know if it's the same in the US or some sort, but when you went in high school, there was a specific field you can go into, like in concentration. It's called like that here. I don't know if it's a specific term, but it was the same amount of class, but they would add one in your specific field. So there was sport, there was multimedia.
In high school?
Yeah.
That's dope. They did not do that in America.
So there was the sports, I know. There was multimedia, which is obviously designing, video, graphic, and everything. And there's arts as well, which speaks for itself. Art,
painting, art.
So I did take my whole years of high school. I did have the multimedia field.
That's cool.
Yeah, we learned a lot of
damn, y'all got lucky. Yeah, we took we had like video production and stuff, and like our school, I don't know, did your school have like a morning news broadcast thing?
Not at all. No.
Okay, so our school, I don't know if you've ever seen this on like any like television, because sometimes they've seen it in shows too, but we actually had like a broadcast where we had like a TV studio almost on campus, and students would like do the bulletin instead of just like the agenda or whatever over like the loudspeaker. It was actually like the teacher would put it on as a television show almost, and like that was like how you started your day every day.
That's amazing,
so, like,
though.
Because we had that, I guess. Yeah. So I mean, instead of the thing that you had, we had that, and kind of how they fed it, how you got the opportunity to be on the news station was the video production classes that they offered at the school. So I was in like video production for the first like 3 years, but I had to take like one more or something to actually be in the news broadcast thing. But that I'm very grateful for like classes like that do exist in high school, because I feel like even now, especially as like every kid nowadays wants to be an influencer. Every kid like wants to do something online. So it's like it's crazy how like they had that foresight so long ago. Where like we were in, how old are you now?
I'm 22.
Yeah. Okay. So like, it's already been 5 years or whatever since you've been in high school. So like having the foresight to see like kids are probably going to want to do this and actually have the classes there. I think that's super cool.
Exactly. And I think the fact that high school itself for a lot of people is lacking motivation, if I can say it this way. It's like, it's hard for some people. There's a lot of people that
high school, bro. I hate school.
Yeah, me too. There's a lot of people that drop out. It's unfortunate to say, but there's a lot of people that drop out, and to have that like opportunity to do something like in your free time or a class that's like different from an history class, French class, or math class. I think it's really, really good.
What does that look like in Canada? Do like you have the normal 12 grades like we do? Or how does
this has always been a special question to me, because I know your guys, yeah, it's different. So there's the primary school, which is 6 grades, and then you go to high school, which is 5. And then you hop to college.
Got it. So you have 1 year less of school.
You guys have 1 more?
Years. We have 12.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we have up to 12th grade. 12th grade is senior year. We have 4 years of high school, 2 years middle school usually. Some, depending on your district, sometimes the elementary school, which is primary, might have the middle school portion attached to it, which would make it 8 years of primary school.
Oh, really?
But then you still have 4 years of high school. So it's 12,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Fair. Whenever I'm trying to talk to someone about school, like to someone from the US, it's always like a barrier somewhere. It's like, what? You guys have that?
And you guys like say like, it's also just the way we speak, but also you guys call it like grade 1, grade 2, grade. We call it like first grade, second grade.
Yeah, we do.
That's also a difference.
True,
yeah. So I was asking that just because you were bringing up people who are like dropping out of school and stuff. A lot, in the States, like your life is kind of fucked if you don't graduate high school. Like sometimes people don't have to go to college. There's especially now, a lot of people aren't going to college if they want to be entrepreneurs, whatever. There's different routes as far as once you're done with high school. But if you don't have a high school diploma or at least a GED, which is like what adults, if they didn't graduate high school, they can like take a test and it's equivalent to a high school diploma. But there in Canada, what does that look like as far as like dropouts and stuff? Do they still have like a decent opportunity in life? Or
I'll say yeah, because there's a lot of open doors here in Canada. The market, they're always looking for some people to hire. I've always had a backup plan with if my career in music doesn't work, but I'm not gonna throw that now. I'm gonna stay positive. But there's a lot of people that make multiple plans. If it didn't end up out the way they wanted, they have a second plan. And it's not that much of a problem, I'd say, here. There's a lot of people I know that dropped out of school and found some way to make a living out of themselves,
That's dope, yeah. Here, it almost feels like, they, especially because they push college on us so much too. You're almost fucked if you don't go to college, depending on what you go into.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So it's schooling, I guess, is a lot different than I thought in Canada than what I'm used to here in the States.
Well, you see, I did 4 years of college, and the field I studied in is you can kind of say it's related but it's not that much related for now.
Yeah. What would be your backup plan, I guess? And I don't even I'm going to knock on wood for you because I don't want that to happen. But what would you do if it wasn't music? Yeah.
So as of now, I'm working for an airline. Well, I'm going to say I'm working for Air Canada. So, basically the guys with the orange sticks that parks the plane.
Yeah.
That's pretty much me right now.
That's cool. So, I love flying. I want to get my pilot's license someday.
So I'm not knock on wood again, but if it doesn't work, I really want to be a pilot.
Sick.
Yeah, I want to do my flight school and everything.
I've always loved flying. I always get the window seat when I fly. I'm always dude, I love flying. I love being in the air.
I'm such an aviation geek. It's crazy.
Have you skydived before, or is that something you're interested in?
Never did. And
would you?
I think I would.
Okay.
But it kind of scares me, not gonna lie.
Oh yeah. It's definitely one of those fears where you're like, I know it's gonna like be you got it. It's like one of those things I was talking to Django about this the last episode, but or the episode we just released, but just taking the opportunity to like do like if it's gonna be like a life experience or like something that you think like it's not gonna kill you, you're not putting yourself at risk like you are with jumping out of a plane. But I feel like it's such like an exhilarating thing that's like a once in a lifetime opportunity kind of thing that you're like, I like want to do it just so I can say that I've done it.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of the experiences you have. It will last like, I don't know, how long is a skydive?
I have no idea.
Oh, you've
Couple
never
minutes,
done it
maybe?
before?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you did.
I want to really bad, but no, I have not done it.
Yeah, because you fall quite fast, not gonna lie. So
Yes.
I
Well,
don't
you
think
hit like terminal velocity, whatever your weight is with gravity. I don't know what that equation is,
Yeah,
but you hit a certain speed that you can't go any faster. Gravity's not going to take you
it
any
goes
faster.
quite fast, I think. So like,
Oh yeah, I think it's like within, depending on how high you are, I think it's
Yeah.
like within like 5-10 minutes. It's not super long.
yeah,
Half
exactly.
of it's your parachute's open. You're just kind of
Yeah.
gliding down. So
Exactly.
that's the long part. Yeah, the scary part's just the initial like jump.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would be scared, like, for real.
Yeah. Going back into you doing visuals, I did have a couple last questions to wrap that kind of topic up. What has been like the hardest part of like learning that new skill, do you think? Like, why do you think you said it was harder than making music? What makes it harder?
I think, in my opinion, I'm still learning because it's really hard. But in my opinion, it's texturing, like textures, like whenever you want to add like a concrete texture, just a texture of a demolished building or something, just adding texture. And I think it's really hard because you're trying so much to find the perfect one. It's never the right one. Well, in my opinion, from what I've learning, it is, but probably some guy that's using Blender for 5 years won't think the same way. But texturing has been like a really hard part for me to learn.
Is it different? Is it a different muscle, you think, also because it's a visual thing? I mean, making music, I guess, is visual to a certain degree, but it's also very like audio driven. It's music. Do you think the big difference is because like creating graphics and visuals it's all visual instead of audio? Do you think there's a disconnect there at all for you?
That's a good question. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. No.
What about like the functionality of like, I've never even opened Blender. Does the functionality, because I know like creating a video in Premiere is kind of similar to writing music. Is there any sort of crossover there?
There's like, when I opened up Blender, it was like, this is not music at all. I was trying to look for something like specific. Maybe I can try. I learned something in music that I can put into Blender, but it's really not the same thing. I hopped on and I was like, okay, I don't know stuff at all. I don't know shit. But After Effects, on the other hand, is quite different because honestly, After Effects is like, if I can say, like an editor itself. So it's basically just like
it has like a timeline still. And all that.
It has a timeline. Yeah. You can add like EQing, and EQing. You learn that stuff in music production, reverberation, etc. So After Effects, on the other hand, I can see some similarities to making music, but it's not the same as Blender. Blender is on its whole world, way apart.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is there what's like? I know is it similar at all to like? I don't know if you've ever used a program like this, but like engineering programs or like coding or anything like that. Is there any portion of that?
I have never tried engineering, like coding, like websites.
Like, yeah. Is there any, like, because I've seen Blender before, but I don't know if that's like a part of.
I don't think so, because
No,
coding is like a lot of like. I think I know what you mean.
Numbers
like
yeah.
No, I don't think there's a resemblance.
Okay, cool.
No.
Got it. Okay. For some reason I thought, because creating the shapes and stuff, sometimes in engineering they use coding to create shapes. So I was like, I wonder if Blender has that same functionality.
That's way more easy. It's way more easier in Blender because you have that option to add a solid. But I have a lot of respect to people who do coding because it looks hard.
Yeah, for sure. What about your artist project? What has been like you think throughout your journey over the last few years? What do you think has been like mentally, physically, emotionally has been the hardest part of your journey thus far?
I'm gonna say right now with the past surgery I had.
Okay.
Like, yeah. At first, when I had the surgery, I was.
It's such like a small thing too that sucks that it's like putting you out.
It's crazy how it changed like a whole perspective of my life because it limits me to a lot of stuff I was doing daily because you get used to a routine. You're hoping the next day you go on with that same routine, but I woke up the next day. I couldn't. So my surgery couldn't allow me to sit down. So at some point, I couldn't sit down to make music. It's the same thing. So there's a lot of stuff that happened after my surgery, which was like complicating. I didn't mention this earlier, but I had an hemorrhage in the wound.
What is that?
I had like an hemorrhage. I couldn't stop bleeding.
Oh, emergency. Got it.
Yeah,
got it.
It was an hemorrhage, and I couldn't stop bleeding. I got rushed to the hospital. I passed out there because I lost so much blood. it was hard. Like there's a lot of stuff that happened in that same amount of space. It was just too much. So I managed to get like solutions to everything. So I think you can notice, but I'm standing up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I got a standing desk. So this has been a solution.
Those things
to
aren't
like,
cheap either.
no, not at all. No, but it's a good investment for a person like me. That's your posture is a big thing. But I'd say that was a big thing because I couldn't make music at all, so that was hard.
And now you're making music standing, which is your brain is focusing on something else while you're trying to write music instead of just sitting there. Right.
I'm grinding. But that has been one. Obviously, anything related to writer's block is always something hard. I think every artist can say the same thing. There's nothing you can do, which is like sad because your brain is like, nope, I don't want to.
I've heard the best thing you can do is just completely step away from it for a while and go like experience something in life and then come back and take the whatever that experience was and like use that as like new inspiration to write.
So my approach on this
by sitting there and just grind, trying to continue to grind, I feel like that's just it's not going to do anything.
No, it's just making it worse. And my approach was way simple. It was just whenever I was trying to do a dubstep track, just load a new project and try something different. Like I would close Ableton,
like make different genres and stuff.
Yeah, it was really weird. I would open it back up and try to make alternative music. Like, like the neighborhood type music, because I love that music. So that was one of the tips I had. And like you said, like the famous term these days is like touch some grass. But I would go out, take a walk for like 30 minutes. Yeah, exactly. I would go out for a walk and just think about everything and just, get my head out of this shithole, if I can say.
Even circling back to the gym, that's another big way to get out of it too.
I wish I could.
Yeah. Right now, yeah.
Another thing, I think this is way more deep in my opinion, but it happened. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, but a big obstacle for me was comparing myself to others. Because I learned in life,
I am very guilty. Very guilty.
I'm very guilty of this too, because what I've learned in life is that everyone has a different path to success, and unfortunately, and unfortunately, it's not going to be the same one from you. You just got to find your own one. And the best way I can compare this is it's like you're trying to book an all-inclusive resort. If you buy the all-inclusive resort right away, you're missing a lot of stuff like your food, your transportation, your plane ticket. So it's the same thing in music. If you base yourself on the success of others to build yours, it's not going to go the same way because you're missing a lot of steps to get to that same path. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, you can't just like copy off someone else. So you're like, oh, they're changed this or they're trying this. It's like, yes, you truly stick to what you want to do and what's in your heart of what you think you should do and not basing it off, someone who's like, oh, they changed this. I think that's cool. It might work for them. But even though they're doing it a specific way, and even if you try to do it that way, sometimes you don't get the same benefits either. So
exactly. And I have a lot of friends who are starting and they have that mentality, and it's not a bad thing because, you'll snap out of it. But I tell them, I've been in your shoes and it's not fun, but I'm telling you, it's way better to build your success out of your own possibilities right now and what get offered to you than just copying someone, because you might get some steps like missed or something like that.
Yeah. Something to relate kind of even in my own journey of comparing myself to someone else. And I won't bring up any names, but I've seen a couple pages that have had podcasts or have publications or what similar things to what we do. And they started posting like reusing other people's content, where like a lot of our page, if you look at like our Instagram and stuff, it's like all just clips from our show and like stuff that we curate and stuff like that. And I've seen this trend in more than just one company, where they're, and it's a cool strategy, I guess, but I just don't feel like it's very authentic, where they're using other people's like meme type content because they know it's going to get shared. But like, is that actually going to, my thought was it might get shared a lot and it might get your followers up or whatever, but are those followers actually going to be, like, do they even know who you are? Are they really going to, follow and read your articles? Are they really going to follow and, listen to your podcast and stuff like that? Are they going to convert into actual fans, or are they just following you because you have post cool memes? And it's like, that's something that I've recently dealt with. And I was like, so I just wanted to ask, like, what's your opinion on like some of these more, I don't even want to call it sellout because it's not, but like some other tactics. Yeah, copycats versus like just being genuine and authentic, even though it might take longer. Where are you where do you feel like you sit in that?
Well, let's say my thoughts on copycats is just at some point, I think they're going to hit a wall of like, okay, I have nothing else to do because I'm not original enough. And honestly, the best way to let it go is just ignore it. And focus on yourself. There's no more good answer than this because I've seen a lot. It's quite frequent in the music industry that you see a song that's like similar to the other, and then they're like,
all the time, dude. Even some artists, like some artists that I've listened to, again, won't name any names, but some of their songs sound like their next release sounds like their last release, and it's like 10 songs in a row, and it all sounds the same. It's like, dude, try something different.
It's kind of funny because I had the same discussion with my friend like yesterday. We were talking about this stuff, and I was like, dude, don't get your head over it because I just feel at some point they're going to hit a wall. They're not going to know what they're going to have to do to overcome that wall. But you're out here just working on yourself, just bumping out tunes. There's going to be a moment in time where you're just going to break that barrier and everything's going to pop, you know? I do believe in that. There's still a lot of stuff that my friends have done that I have still not done yet. And I'm not mad about it. I'm not jealous because I think everything has its time and I'm proud of them for everything they've done. I think it's wonderful, but everything has its own time. And if it does not happen to you right away, it will happen to you at some other point in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was your, I guess, what changed your mindset from going from comparing yourself to others to, and like, especially your friends, because those are the immediate people around you, and not be in a competitive, like be in competition with them, but change your mindset to, celebrate them and congratulate them and be happy for them. What kind of did you go through to change your mindset there?
All right. Here's the thing. I grew up being a really sportive guy. So I grew up with, a big sporting mentality, being with a team, so I was kind of...
Did you play a lot of sports growing up?
I played water polo for 10 years.
Dude, same. I didn't play for that long, but I played water polo too in
Really?
high school. Yeah, my dad and my uncle were both water. My uncle actually played for USC. Who was
really?
Very good in the States, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I
love water polo, man.
Yeah, it's really... You say that word to anyone, they're like, what?
Yeah, what is that?
They're not going to know what it is.
Big sport.
Yeah, it's not a big sport, but it's really hard. But I was really far up in this sport. Like I ended up going to the US to play a tournament in LA. Yeah, it was really going well. But anyways, back to the point. I was I grew up with that mentality of just focusing on myself and my friends. So just your attention being on someone else. Just like an example for another team in that context, it's just not worth it. Because just back to what I was saying, your path to success is not going to be the same as if you're trying to compare yourself to another team or something. So there's a lot of that mentality that followed me up to this path, up to music production. And, I think it's been a really good tip that followed me. If there's like one thing from my childhood that I'm grateful that it followed me up here, it has to be this mentality.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's
the right mentality to have, man.
yeah, exactly. So just each day I try to do something that's working and improving myself daily. And just, that's how I managed to get myself up there, in my opinion.
That's awesome, man. I think about this somewhat frequently, but to a certain degree, do you think that looking at, and maybe not comparing yourself, but looking at what other people are doing with, and find success in, do you think that to a certain degree, it can be beneficial as long as you're not taking it to heart, as long as you're not putting yourself down emotionally for not being at their level? Do you think that it could be beneficial because you could maybe learn something from someone else?
I think the short answer could be yes, as long as you're not copying that same path. But at some certain degree, just like you say, because I feel like
by watching others, especially people who are, I don't even want to use not more successful than you, but just like further along than you maybe, you can learn even like their mistakes even sometimes if you build a
100%.
relationship with them. Yeah.
100%. That's a good thing. But as long as I'm saying, as long as you're not copying, because in the end, are you really going to be proud of yourself for copying someone else instead of coming up with something that's
definitely not? Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You're going to get there and it's not going to mean shit. Yeah. You're like,
I think it's way more beneficial for you to learn like the mistakes than the positive stuff, if I can say in this way, because you're preventing yourself from making those mistakes, in my opinion.
Well, we are getting closer to time here, but I do want to talk about one more topic, and that's some of your stuff that's upcoming. You kind of briefly mentioned that you're working on some upcoming projects. Are you talking more about like a body of work, or are you talking like a side project, or what can you tell us about that?
As of now, I'm really just putting my focus on my main project. I have a lot of stuff happening. I can't unfortunately
don't talk about what you can,
but there's a lot of stuff coming for my shows, but I won't say anything. Music wise, I have an EP coming up, which is really, really fun, because this EP, just like I was saying, I was working on myself. I think this EP is just going to put my branding way more up than it is now. So it's really good, put like my branding on the map, if I can say it this way. So I'm really hyped up on this EP. So
sweet. Yeah, it's always cool when I can relate to that too, where you're developing a project or developing an EP or something like that. So it's something that you're working on, but like at the same time as that's growing and you're putting that together, you're growing as a person as well. That's very much what this podcast has been for me, of just like, I've grown so much from the early days of the podcast. So that's such a cool experience that like when you can pour into something and it's also helping, it's like giving back at the same time. And that relationship that you have with that body of work, that's dope. Do you have a home for it at all, or are you thinking about pitching it to?
Not at all.
Are you wanting to pitch it, or are you self-releasing?
Oh, we're gonna pitch it for sure.
Okay,
but we're waiting to get like a strong, because we want it just to be more than just, okay, here's an EP.
Right.
I have a story behind it. I have like a path I want to follow, which like a really big thing in my opinion. So we want to wait until we like perfectionate these things until we can pitch it. But the
how long do you think you got until when can we like ballpark of when we could be expecting this?
I think Q1, Q2 of 2024 could be a nice spot. Okay. Yeah. But just like I said, I just want to really get these specs really perfect before we can pitch it, because there's a lot behind than just more a certain amount of tracks, you know?
Right. That's dope. How long have you been working on it?
It's almost been a year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It takes a while to write something cohesive.
Yeah.
and it's especially like you're saying, if you wanted to make it more than just like, here's like a few tracks on like a thing that I put out. It's like you're actually putting a story behind it. You're actually putting thought into it. You're developing it into its own kind of project. So,
it's actually been the longest piece of work I've put into music, and it's kind of nerve-wracking because you don't.
That's dope.
Thank you, because you don't want to put it out and people will be like, this is mid.
You're right.
Because you're kind of scared as well, because it's kind of a both sideways.
It's a debut EP, if you will. So it's
you can say it that way. I've released EPs in the past, but it's not as important and big as this one. I think it's gonna be. You know.
Got it.
So,
Well, I'm sure we'll try and give it as much love as we can, and I'm sure places like Dubstep FBI, I know you got a good relationship with them, and other publications and stuff. Yeah, you'll get some good press on it, I'm sure. So, awesome, man. Well, where can everyone keep up to date with you? It's what you have coming up, and stay tuned for all that we've been talking about.
Obviously, my socials are a big place. I'm really active on Instagram and X. I'm going to say X instead of Twitter now.
Yeah. I'm still putting in the show notes of all these, and for the last couple months, we're kind of at the end of this transition, but I've been putting Twitter, parentheses, AKA X.
Yeah. That's the right way to do it. It's still in my head. It still is Twitter. But obviously,
it's still on the freaking app icon or whatever. It's still the bird. Yeah. It has nothing. Yeah.
Well, no, for me, it has changed to the X.
Oh, it's changed? Yeah. Okay. I'll have to figure that out. Maybe I'm due for an update. I don't know.
But yeah, I'm a lot active on these two. I post a lot of my story on my stories on Instagram, obviously. So these are the two, just to keep updated with my stuff going on.
Awesome. Sweet, man. Well, I'm going to ask the final question. I ask this at the end of every single interview. If there was one piece of advice that you could give yourself when you first picked up a DAW and started making music, what would that be?
Do not give up and trust the process.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've held on forever.
Awesome, man. Well, it was great having you. It was great meeting you. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Absolutely.